Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I have an unboxing of a Papercraft Society box. This one was curated or designed by John Next Door and it is box number 35. So I've taken out most of the contents and fit whatever I could into the wallet. There are some extra goodies that are always at the bottom, which are wrapped in beautiful tissue paper. These are the items that were a little too dimensional to fit in the wallet. So we've got a spool, very generous spool of twine. So really wonderful. I actually might set this aside for a giveaway. I know it doesn't have any labeling or anything on it, but I have like a huge spool of this twine, so I don't think I'll need this. So I'd rather just give that away. Then there's this little pocket of goodies, which is well sealed. So this, oh, look at this. These are pretty. Metal charms. Oh, these are going to be great as little charms on mini albums, traveler's notebooks, things like that, where you can kind of dangle a little charm on a, on the spine. Or I've been getting into making resin jewelry pieces for my nieces and nephews. Kind of feel like these would be great for that too. Ooh, that's an idea. I have 5 nieces, so I could actually make each of them a matching charm bracelet. That might be what I do with these. So this probably won't go into my paper crafting. Okay, so charms, metal charms. Then we get 2 pots of sequins. These are nice and full. One is silver and one is more of a matte white. And I think they are all the same size. Yeah, I think they're all the same size. So really, really lovely 2 full generous pots there. And then everything else I was able to fit into the folio wallet. So lots in here. You'll always find a booklet. Inside the booklet, you'll find an interview with the designer or curator of the box. And then there's also, I would always look for what's in the box so that you can take a glance at what all is meant to be in here and make sure that you got everything. I've never found my boxes to ever be short, except for one time where I only got one of the 2 stamp sets. So that's why you should always double check. It rarely happens, and Craft Stash will make it right for you, but it may happen. And so you want to just make sure you catch that as soon as you can, especially since, sometimes I'm sure these don't get like reproduced after their initial manufacturing run. So, sometimes they just might not have the stock to make it good. So I would check as early as you can, make sure that you have everything. And especially if you're ever unsure of what something is, you can also check this contents. For example, those metal charms, it looks like they're called metal leaves. And then there's something called skeleton leaves, which I think is this, which I never would have known the terminology for this. So you can always just check this contents. And then somewhere in here, there's also a link that you can go online to actually download some extra digital freebies or that can coordinate with your box. So I think now, as a rule, you're able to actually download the pattern papers. Wow, these are gorgeous. So if you're finding that you are working on a project where you maybe need more than one of a particular design, you can go online, just look for that link in the booklet, and then you can go online and download more. I'm just doing a quick sort because it looks like it looks like you do get the same pattern, but in multiple colorways. So these are 2 different patterns, and in each of them we have it in 3 colorways, where the striping is what's different. The outside design with the leaves is the same, but it's the accent stripes in the center that are the 3 colorways. Love that. That's pretty cool. And then you get these 2, which are this one looks like it's the same. Yeah. So this is the same border design with the leaves, just with again like a different background fill in the center that's more of a distressed kind of wall. And then this one looks like the left edge is the same. The left edge is the same, but instead of having a border on the right side, there's just more flowers kind of strewn in the center. I actually, to be honest, would have preferred if they did not have these in the middle here and just left it a little bit just blank. White space is not a bad thing. Because like this, just something a little bit more open. I think I would have preferred that. But lovely. I love when we get gorgeous patterns like these in different colorways to choose from. Lovely fall theme. I think I'm pretty much done with my Thanksgiving card making for the year. So these I might save for next year's Thanksgiving cards, because I think the colors are very rich and would be perfect for that. Then there's some, oh, interesting. There's some solid color cardstock, but this is different than what we normally get in these Papercraft Society boxes, because there's a linen finish to them. Yeah. Oh, it's very different. It's also solid core. Usually the solid color cardstock is a little bit thicker weight than this. I would class this at maybe 65 pound. I think in previous boxes I've seen it more at maybe an 80 pound. I'm just guessing. I don't know. But that's just what I would wager. And normally in other kits I've seen it's smooth white core. And here we're getting slightly lighter weight, but texture, like a textured weave, and it's sort of smooth on the back, but you can still see a little bit of that texture, and you can feel a little bit of it too, and solid core. And I think I might have gotten an extra sheet of brown. I can check the contents, but there's 2 of the orange, like a evergreen shade of green, and then a really nice rich chocolatey brown. These colors are gorgeous. They would be really good for Halloween too. And then the craft card, which is it kind of looks like chipboard on the back. So I would always double check when you're using the craft card that usually comes in the Papercraft Society kits, because I don't super love this color, because it does look like just plain kind of raw chipboard to me. But this craft side looks a lot prettier. So that is our card. It's all A5 in size. A5, which is half of a sheet of A4. And then we have the stamps and dies as well, and we have a stencil. So the stencil is fantastic for just some border corner designs in that really lovely sort of array of different species of leaves. So that's really cool. A little bit reminiscent of some of the pattern papers that we saw with those different border designs, and then the different designs in the centers. And these stamps are kind of cool. So they are layering stamps. So you have a solid, which you can stamp in one color, and then there's the matching one that gives you that nice little polka dot design. So that's kind of cool. And so I like solid stamps because there's different ways that you can actually use them. So you could either stamp an ombre on here, like start on one end with one color, start from the other end with a different color, let them mix a little bit in the middle. You could color with like a water-based coloring marker and do sort of the same thing and create different multicolor stamped image just right onto your stamp first, and then maybe spritz it with water so that it starts to blend a little bit on the stamp, and then stamp it down. So even though it's solid, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a single color. There are different techniques that you can use to get some color variation in your leaves. But then having this fun little abstract polka dot design just makes it a little bit whimsical, makes it so that you can do different techniques with it as well. So you can just position these after you've stamped your solid color, maybe taking a darker color and stamping over, or what you could do is stamp first or second, I guess, it doesn't matter. But you could, if you wanted to have your solid be a dark color, you can stamp that and then stamp over it with the more detailed one, and then heat emboss like a white or a silver to get a lighter color on top of a darker color. Normally, because you're stamping the detailed design on top of the more solid, normally this would need to be darker than whatever your solid stamping was in order to show up. But if you heat emboss, then you're going to get a nice opaque color sitting on top. So that means you can actually stamp in a darker color and then do some heat embossing over it in a lighter color. Then we have banners and lots of sentiments. So you've got this really lovely kind of fishtail banner with, again, you could use the second stamp as an accent here to just create a polka dot design behind here. And it looks like all of these sentiments will fit into this banner, which is kind of cool. But then you have a lot of, this is kind of cool. So these I feel like they're a little bit longer, so they could be more like a verse that you could stamp on the inside of your card, which I often forget about the inside of my card. So this is being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Above all, be the heroine of your life, not the victim. Lovely sentiment, but I feel like that's very niche. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Oh, that's really lovely. So some very unique encouragement style of sentiments, which is really lovely. And then we can look at the dies. This is different too. It's actually in John Next Door packaging, which is not. I pulled out another sheet of cardstock because usually it's between acetate sheets like this. It's just out of habit that I pulled it out. Okay, so it looks like the dies give you this lovely panel here. There are 2 dies that cut designs into your card, and it looks like an outside cutting edge die that's just your plain rectangle. Size-wise, this looks really nice. So that outside cutting, oh, that's really nice. It's 5 inches long by 1 5/8 wide. So really great for your A2 size cards, maybe for mini slimline cards too. That would be wonderful. It's just like an accent border. Then you get what looks like can be layering dies, so you can cut, and these 2 detailed ones cut into your card. They don't have the outside cutting edge, so you could just cut directly into your card and then let your card base show underneath, and or use them to in combination with the outside cutting edge die here, so that you actually have a die cut piece. And the two they vary in the amount of detail that's cut away. So that means you can layer the two for like a two-tone, to get different colors coming through. So for example, this has, if you just look at this one leaf here, when you cut this out, all of this is cardstock that stays there. So you're going to see that color cardstock. Let's say we chose orange. And then if we cut this panel out of, let's say, brown, you're going to get all of the vein detail, and then the outside border of this leaf here will be in brown, and these open areas here, if you layer on top of this, you'll see orange come through that. So you can layer those, and it looks like you get the same idea with the individual leaves too, which I'm guessing, wow, this is so well coordinated, because I'm guessing, yeah, these open dies here, the outline dies, they will cut out your stamp sets, your stamps. Hold a sec. Let me see. That's not gonna fit. I'm wondering if yeah, close. I think this, yes, check it out. The stencil coordinates too. Wow, that is so awesome. Yes, very cool. So you know what you can do? You can stencil a bunch of these and then really do some like cool inking techniques, embellishment mousses, all sorts of stuff, whatever you would normally use, through a stencil that out, and then you've got the coordinating dies to cut them out too. Yeah, you'd have to figure out which one goes with what, but yeah, look at that. I think you would get pretty darn near perfect cuts. That one I think goes with that. The thing with stencils is you'll just have to kind of do a little bit of a double check to see which, flip it back and forth, because the designs aren't symmetric necessarily. Some might be, but they aren't necessarily. And so if you might find that it works, one side versus the other. So it's worthwhile to do maybe like a quick little double check just to see. But look how well that is. So that's awesome. Kudos, Jen Next Door. It's really well thought out. To get the stencils, the stamps, and the dies all coordinating with each other so that you can build up your patterns and your design in whatever format is the most comfortable for you, whether it's stenciling and using different multimedia supplies and getting your designs that way, or stamping with different techniques, embossing powders, again, different multimedia supplies you could use there, or just building up your designs with die cuts, because these look like they are a little bit larger than what's shown in the border design, but you could definitely use this more open one and then layer some of the more detailed cuts right over top and build up your layers that way. It's not the exact same size, so like if you look at this, which I think is a maple leaf, and just they're side by side, so you can easily kind of compare the size difference. This is a little bit larger, but being larger, it means it's going to cover that entire kind of space where that maple leaf is, and then some a little bit. So so maybe that's nice that it's not a perfect match size wise, but you could, this looks like a very snippable design too. So if you just wanted to kind of layer some of these more intricate, detailed die cuts in, you could do partial die cutting and just snip away the edges and then layer that on top if you didn't want to do like the full thing in one color, for example, because this does have like the maple leaf and, you know, different types of leaves which you might want out of different colors. So you might want to just lay like some scrap solid color cardstock just over this area, snip away, and then layer that bit on top of here. And then maybe you want this leaf in like a green instead of an orange, and you could you know, again, do some partial die cutting and just, you know, get it in the colors that you want. So really, really, really cool, basically stamp, die, and stencil combo, since they all coordinate really, really well together. And it's always the case that the stamps and dies complement each other. And I don't get all of the boxes, but this is kind of the first time where I've seen this combination where they all actually coordinate. Like the dies will actually cut the stencil and the stamp designs, or you could you know, stamp in one color and use the stencil to maybe, you know, stencil a different color over it, and layer your colors up that way. For example, you could use the solid stamp in maybe a yellow, and then use your stencil to stencil over that in maybe like a green, and then you can get like a little green ombre. You know, there's lots of different things that you can do. So it's nice that they all match exactly with one another, so that you can just play with them in different ways and explore what sorts of different looks you can create. So that's a fun one. It's we're coming up on winter, so so I'm likely not to craft with this super soon, but I'm kind of eager to get into it just because I think the supplies are really fun and unique. So there's that Papercraft Society box number 35, curated by John Next Door. So when I do craft with this, if I can remember to, I'll try to come back to this video and link to that project at the end of this one. But at the end of this video, you'll for sure find my Papercraft Society playlist, and I will most definitely link to or add any projects that I make using this kit in my Papercraft Society playlist, so you will definitely find it there. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.